Hail and Magic Kingdom, welcome to Path of Exile 2. A lot of you enjoyed my Arc Sorcerer build, so I decided to make an update on my endgame mapping fixes. As you can see, we got a bunch of bodies with us today, and you may not understand what's going on, don't worry. Today I will show you every skill you need, some passive trait changes, and equipment to make everything work. So, we will go on mapping adventure today, and I will explain how build works and how to make it work for you. So, coolest part, we don't need like a lot of equipment and stuff. It basically works from the start, and it's pretty tanky, pretty nice damage, nice clear speed, and the stuff that I like most is the fact that build is made around Arc spell. Why I like Arc? Because unlike Spark, we don't have this smooth diarrhea all over the screen, and we just press the button and everyone is being destroyed. That's basically it. It looks a lot more beautiful, clear, and build is pretty like good. So it works like pretty like one button build. When you're mapping, you just go straight into press and hold one button and that's it. But we get a lot of other damage amplifications to make it even more powerful and destroy bosses. Why Arc against bosses is pretty good is the fact that we basically can focus down bosses. I will show you the second setup for this build. It will work pretty nicely, and it basically can one-shot bosses if you need to. But normally you just roam around the map, cast this chain lightning spell and enjoy the game. So, the first spell is Arc, that we will use basically to shoot the people, or zombies, most of the time. For those of you who watched my previous video, you may notice that my DPS is actually lower than before, but it's because we changed some stuff. So, what do we got here on the Arc spell? We get Inspiration to make this spell cost less. I guess it totally makes sense, so we can cast it a lot more often. Conduction to have more chance to shock with the spell. Overcharge to increase magnitude of shocks. Shocking hits to also be able to shock enemies around targets. And Arcane Tempo to cast it with higher attack speed, casting speed. So right now this Arc focused on inflicting shock condition on enemy, and with my Stormweaver tree we can have better chance to shock as well as apply shock 2 times at one single target. So why we're doing it like this? Why do we don't need more damage? As you can see, we're having like enough damage to clear maps, and my previous build was okay until like tier 11 maps, but right now we're clearing tier 16 like pretty easily. So why we need this like a lot of shocks? Basically because with this build right now we're using cast on shock. This cast on shock will be equipped with another Arc spell. Yeah, one more Arc in cast on shock, and it completely makes sense since we get considered casting over here. The skill will have less casting speed, but more damage with spell hits. More damage with hits, again, but cannot deal critical hits, that's totally fine. And Elemental Focus will deal more elemental damage. So basically we get one Arc spell that we spam a lot, and when it shocks a bunch of targets, it triggers Cast on Shock, and Cast on Shock fires another Arc spell that will finally deal like insane amount of damage. So this way we can basically deal with bosses and other guys pretty easily. That's like the biggest change, for the build actually, and we're right now completely like Arc Sorcerer finally. We can improve with this even more with our Orb of Storms. Basically we're doing this orb and then starting to shoot lightnings, and Orb of Storm will destroy these like big yellow monsters like you see on the screen right now a lot more easier, and we can survive even like on dash freezing effects, as you can see. That's because we are pretty tanky with the new build, and we completely like don't care about enemies a lot of time. What Orb of Storm's doing for us? So it's chain spell. This means it can chain to multiple enemies, and whenever we cast chain lightning, it's also casting kinda chain lightning itself. But this spell will have font of mana, so we stay in this radius, and our mana is regenerating a lot faster. Lightning exposure, so it will expose enemy to lightning damage, we will deal a lot more damage if it shocks enemies, and exposure will be with higher effect. This spell basically used most of the time on the bosses. We cast this Orb of Storms and trying to cast as much Arc spells as possible. It will expose enemy to lightning damage, and we will basically deal more damage. Basically, if you're going only for mapping, that's everything we need. And mana regeneration over here is really important because in our passive skill tree we get basically pretty nice combination of mind over matter, all damage is taken from mana before life, with Eldritch Battery, converts all energy shield to mana. Yeah, so basically our mana is our health pool. At the same time we got 2.2k mana right now, but as you can see also I got energy shield. Yeah, 1.2k energy shield right now that can be increased even over the cap thanks to our buff skill Grim Feast. Yeah, as you can see we get loads of buffs over here: Mana Remnants, Grim Feast, Cast and Shock, and Archmage of course. So Archmage will basically increase damage of our lightning skills, and that's it. Since we're focusing to increase our level of skills to deal more damage, and I don't have like insane wand right now, but still it's pretty nice, at least +2 level to all lightning spell skills. It will increase mana consumption, and that's why we need to use inspiration on our main skills that we're spamming. So I got lightning monster here and clarity, that's it basically. More mana regeneration and one more level to the skill to increase damage. Cast and Shock already explained. Grim Feast is the buff that gives me ability to regenerate energy shield. So we get buffer before our mana starts depleting when we're fighting against enemies. It's really important for mapping because sometimes you will be hit by some like fire ground, mushroom zombie explosions that leaves this spit on the ground, basically some like annoying stuff. And it's really nice to have some buffer before your mana to take damage from. Cannibalism over here to recover mana on kill, basically it's not insanely important, but I got some spirit for it, and sometimes it helps to recover some life, as well as vitality to increase regeneration of life. Basically I don't have any like slots, so it doesn't matter, you don't need to have this. Mana Remnants will kinda work the same, but for mana you will regenerate mana when you kill a shocked enemy, so it's pretty easy to regen mana, and mana is your health also, so it's basically like almost insanely unstoppable tanky build. I still have Mana Tempest, but it is so much mana, it's so much mana, but it definitely increases our damage a lot. Especially against bosses. And now let's talk about bosses, like actually how we approach bosses to completely obliterate and destroy them. Because to advance through Atlas, you know, to highest tier and to complete bosses, you need to be able to destroy really like powerful bosses. So here the main combination against bosses. With this build. We need to increase our damage like a lot against bosses, since this 20k is not enough against super high tier like powerful bosses. But again, as you can see, this guy, even by just using this Orb of Storms, is destroyed in 2 hits basically, with our Cast and Shock and other like buffs and stuff. So against bosses we get like full routine. What you need to understand that we can shock enemies 2 times, and I will screen it right now. Basically we get like double 50% increase of damage, so we can increase our damage like 2 times against bosses pretty easily with double shock that we're doing with right passive skill tree. And as you can see we get like 22k damage on this arc, and Cast on Shock arc showing 15k damage per use. So it definitely makes our DPS higher, but anyway, look here. So what we get? We got Orb of Storms to remove enemy resistance, to basically make it lightning exposed. We can do it in combination with this stuff, Mana Tempest, but I'm not even using it right now. Still you have this option, Mana Tempest. Then we will use Conductivity, and Conductivity is pretty like insane. I get Heightened Curse over here to increase effect of this curse. Cursed Ground, so I don't need to like precisely time it to inflict curse on target. I basically cast it, and the boss who stands in the circle will be cursed technically, so he will have minus 36% lightning resistance, 25% more, so it's like minus 42% lightning resistance, and more area of effect, Ritualistic Curse. So that's basically the combination for Conductivity. And as you can see, area is pretty big. Everyone over here will have lower lightning resistance basically. Oh, Orb of Annulment. And we get 2 skeleton boys. Yeah, as you can see, 2 skeleton boys. What we're doing with skeleton boys, we basically doing this spell, and they becoming our towers. What we're getting from them? And we're getting pretty nice DPS increase, like 50% more, as you can see, from 22k to 34k damage instantly, just by casting the skeleton boys. And that's not it. So basically double shock, doubling our damage. Skeletons giving like 50% more damage. Conductivity will lower resistance by a lot. Orb of Storms will lower resistance basically even more. It will make enemy take more lightning damage. And we got this Sigil of Power that will increase our damage when we spend mana inside of the sigil. Basically, we need to cast some like spells before, and then we will get like 4 stacks of the sigil. And how it works like insanely good, like pretty nice, I would say. Just by standing over here and casting, we can raise damage again to 35k. To spend more mana in Sigil of Power again, we can use something like Orb of Storms, Sigil of Power, and basically we're doing every stuff over here. And with full buffs against boss, we will have 70k DPS over here. It may seem like it's not much, but don't forget, we got conductivity on our boss as well as double shock, and it actually like melts bosses insanely and pretty fast. So it completely works against bosses pretty easily and can give you a ticket to tier 15 instantly. This build changes and they are pretty cool. But to make everything work, of course, we need to change passive skill tree a little bit. So my previous build was based around critical hit strike with spells. And while it's really cool, at tier 15 you don't need that much damage against like normal enemies, and against bosses you just need to have a lot of amplifications, at least in my like it. So I respect my character like a lot, and that's what we got here. Basically we're going to the top with spell damage, then to the right with casting speed and mana regeneration, and that's the last part I get in right now, increasing energy shield, so it helps us to survive. And basically what we want to have some like magnitude of shocks over here, elemental damage over here, and elemental damage if you shocked an enemy recently. Again, in the fight we can raise our damage even more. Penetration of lightning resistance, increasing casting speed with lightning skills over here, more lightning damage. Eldritch Battery, of course, with arcane intensity for more spell damage per maximum mana, some spell regeneration, some casting speed over here, and basically I took like some energy shield over here, some intelligence, more lightning damage per intelligence, so a little bit of stat stacking. I picked this runes to increase maximum energy shield, of course, these nodes, and taking damage from mana before life, of course. So here I got everything, but if you just check, it's not a lot of damage actually. So this nodes won't increase damage a lot. 10% elemental damage, increasing our damage by just like, I don't know, it looks like by 1%. It doesn't look like 10% basically. Just look at this arc. 10% should be like 27k, not 25.3. Same with attack and casting speed with elemental spells. Not a big increase, and definitely we can respec it, probably like full part, and get more energy shield. We just need to survive. So what we got over here? Since we got a lot of custom shock, we got trigger spell damage and meta skills and increasing damage if you triggered a skill recently. Again, we like going into fight with triggering spells, and our damage will be increased a lot more than in the tooltip right now. More lightning damage, more maximum lightning damage, and basically that's it. So that's my build right now. We are level 88 and we can refine it into like more energy shield. That's it, we don't need a lot more. Damage is like pretty fine. Ascendancy tree just look like this right now. Strike twice, constant gale for more arcane surge, and increasing effect of arcane surge with force wheel. Last will be probably scoring winds to inflict a higher exposure on enemies. And the question you may have right now is pretty simple question, like how do I have so high spirit that I am able to have like so much buffs? And the answer is pretty simple. As you can see, we got a lot of spirit here for a total of 166 spirit, which is completely insane. And yeah, as you can see, we got energy shield, and these two questions can be answered by going in our inventory. So our inventory is pretty simple. I got new unique, it's Azure Amulet, Everlasting Gaze. So this converts mana and increases mana regeneration and converts it to energy shield. So this gives me ability not to only have mana as my HP basically with Eldritch Battery and stuff, but also having some nice energy shield. And having a nice energy shield is really good stuff. It's really the stuff basically you want to have, so you're not losing mana on like basic monsters. Now I can tank some hits and I won't be like instantly out of mana. I can go back with full mana, destroy these guys, and restore all energy shield with Grim Fist and stuff. So basically that's how it works. On mapping it's pretty good, like pretty good, even while like high tier monsters just almost one-shots us. But right now it's only like damage to energy shield and that's it. So then my new founding, yeah, Rattling Scepter, like whatever. That grants us Skeletal Warrior skill, basically. That summons some Skeletal Warriors that we can then put on the pikes to make our towers. So yeah, it's Soul Offering skill with Persistence, Dance Macabre for more damage, and Ablation for even more damage. So yeah, I didn't try it, but turns out you can use this Scepter in offhand, and what you're looking for is Scepter that will give you increased spirit. That's it. So normally your characters should have like 100 spirit, and that's it. This Scepter increasing my spirit by 66%. And you may ask how 66% increased spirit results in 266 spirit total. It's pretty easy. Every Scepter got its own spirit. It's basically around 100 always. So 66% increased spirit is related to our Scepter, not to our total spirit. So just by equipping Scepter you will have like 200 spirit, and with spirit bonus you will have like a lot more. So I landed at 266, like pretty good stuff. And technically that's it. The gear you're looking for is a gear that will give you some lightning damage, spell damage, level 2 spells, level 2 lightning spells, and more intelligence, more mana. More mana means you will have more survivability, more mana regeneration, and other stuff. Casting speed, basically that's what you're looking for. That's it, nothing like insanely crazy and special. Pretty straightforward build. In the end I got chaos resistance at 55%, other resistances capped almost. My lightning a bit over cap, 100 is a lot more than we need. I want to have around 90% resistance, but my fire resistance lacking right now. And in offhand I got a Soul Spire Chiming Stuff. It's the stuff that gives me skill Sigil of Power, that gives me more power when we're standing inside of it. So we put it in offhand, we cast the Sigil of Power, and then we cast Arc spell, and it completely like changed our weapon set to first set. To make this work, you need to make sure that your skill option on Arc is set to only set number 1. That's it, so this will auto-change your weapons. But I got a bonus for you. So, if you like Arc builds, or you want a little bit different version of this build, you can go for Arc build with completely same setup. That's like the beauty of the build, basically. So what you want to do actually, if you want Arc build, instead of using Arc spell as your main spell, you make completely same setup, like same setup, same skill, same everything, with a Spark spell. So I don't have 5 links on Spark right now, but it's completely fine. Basically you want to shock with your first Spark, and I would go with 100% chance of shock, lowering spell cost, increasing magnitude of our shocks, and more casting speed. So that's basically the build for this Spark. And instead of Arc on our casting shock, we just put in one more Spark that will deal damage. So that's it, basically. That's the setup. Against bosses, it's probably even easier setup. We got a hard map with some like fire stuff on the ground. Again, it's most annoying stuff when you're playing builds that will eat your mana instead of your health, and you actually need mana to sustain and to fight against monsters. But Spark works just fine with this build, with this setup. And against strong bosses, it's probably even, not probably, it's actually like better. It's actually better. And there's one single and pretty like big reason why it is like that. Because you may cast a lot of sparks in a short amount of time, and they will technically like one-shot boss when it will be able to take hits. Clearing maps is also pretty easy. You don't need to expose yourself to attacks, so like it's like pretty straightforward, insanely easy setup with Spark. Works just fine. And there's one more really secret setup that will help you against the bosses, even if you're struggling. Even with this build, maybe you don't have like good gear at the moment, it's still manageable. So let me get to the boss and I will show you the secret setup. So secret setup looks like this. We got some shield, but we don't need this shield against bosses, like most of the time. Why do you need this shield? Or why do you need mana remnants? You can't have mana remnants against bosses, against like 99% of bosses anyway. So instead, you can go with next and one more custom shock Just turn on Grim Fist and get one more custom shock running. And you're dropping one more spark inside of it, but most importantly, you're dropping electrocute inside of it. Yeah, if you got this problem that you can't select this into the skill, what you want to have electrocute, I mean sparkle already in custom shock, then you can insert electrocute. That's basically the trick to do it if you got like any troubles. You can have energy retention inside. Also make sure you don't have any gem cutting restrictions in options, and cube restrictions, just tune this off and you will be fine. So what we have right now, we get like basically triple cast of sparks when we're shocking enemies, and one of the spark will contribute to electrocute build-up, one of them will deal damage, and one of them will like make enemy take more damage with shock. That's insanely good setup. So let's go and try this build in action, and I intentionally showing you this in the most and worst situation. So we get this fire ground beneath us, so it eats mana, eats energy shield all the time, and area is pretty open, it's pretty wide. So as you can see, this build it's pretty tanky and we are okay even like this, but I need to back up. I need to destroy like a few monsters and then get back to arena to finally survive. The problem with sparks, that at least I'm having in my experience, that I can't play against basic monsters on the maps like this. I just having like a lot of problems with this build. And if you're playing on closed arenas, this build completely obliterates bosses. If we can go and unleash the full combination with Sigil of Power, with our skeleton boys on pikes, with conductivity and stuff. But right now we need to move, we need to evade his strikes, we can't stand on the scorched ground, and that's why I'm switching to the arc build instead. With arc, double shock and nice focus fire, we don't even need stuff like Warp of Storms and other stuff. While it's definitely helping me deal more damage, it inflicts this lightning exposure on enemy, double shock and just hitting him with arc spells that sometimes triggering another arc after custom shock. We basically can destroy this boss pretty easily and pretty fast. Power of the build for mages dictates mostly by your gear actually, so make sure to find the best wand you possibly can find and armor pieces that will increase your damage. Then you will be able to feel even better than me on the maps. I hope you enjoyed this updated Sorcerer build and you will have blast playing it in Path of Exile too. If you're enjoying RPG content, make sure to subscribe and see you in the next videos.